Oh, I like the alligator clap. I'll do the alligator clap again. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing well. I am. I'm doing great. I'm having a fantastic day because today marks the launch of a wonderful new MIXLAND product, 280 Pre. This thing is incredible. This is based on a piece of gear that I use and that a couple of other very, very badass people that I look up to use. This is a preamp that was originally designed to be used in a tape machine that came out in the 60s. It was built in Connecticut, and they used it all throughout the era of like Muscle Shoals and Motown. And this tape machine just has a crunchy, delicious, ooey gooey texture. And it turns out that these preamps, when they're pulled from this tape machine and they're used in a standalone setting, it is incredibly useful for adding texture and brilliance and vibe and warmth and depth to any track, any instrument, any source. It's just a really, really special thing. And I've been using these for a long time and running stuff through them. And now it's time to share the love. You guys get to try this thing out, and I think you're really, really, really gonna like it. It's freaking sweet. In this video, I'm gonna just kind of walk you through the plugin, show you some of my favorite use cases for it. I'll show you three really common scenarios that I'm using this thing for, because it's really versatile, and it's just kind of a multi-dimensional just tone improvement box. I'm gonna show you a scenario where it can help something cut through the mix by just adding distortion. I'm gonna show you a scenario where you can add warmth and kind of girth to the low end, beyond what an EQ can really do. And then the same thing in the top end, adding clarity and sizzle to allow something to cut through and be clear in a mix by adding top end. So yeah, before any of that though, I want to show you the trailer and demo that our team is really proud of. We had a fun time putting this together with this fun little tune. You can check that out right here, or you can skip ahead 1 minute to get past that if you've already seen it, or just watch it again. Here it is. All right, that was fun. Now let's open up a session and get kind of a mix going, and we'll use the 280 Pre in action. So here's the song that I've got. This is called Modern Seinfeld. This is something that I wrote in 2019, I believe. Just making music for fun, and I never ended up using it for anything, so we're gonna use it today to demo this plugin. Okay. Okay, so currently we have a pretty cool sounding song. It's not a perfect mix, so we're gonna dive in and use the 280 to sort of improve things. First thing I wanna look at is the snare. The 280 is above and beyond the greatest on snare drum. You know, I use it when I wanna get a sort of Sean Everett snare sound, something that kind of breaks up. I know that a friend of mine, Kean Reardon, he uses these a lot on the St. Vincent stuff to just get drums just breaking up and cutting and just sounding incredible. And we worked a long time to get this plugin to match the way that this thing breaks up. It's, you know, on the hardware, it's very, very bright. And a lot of analog gear has kind of a high roll off and makes things softer. This tool really makes things kind of hard, and it can really make them bright and very, very pokey and transient in the top end. So we've added a lot of extra features to help kind of roll some things off too. Okay, here's the plugin. One of those tricks for getting rid of the top end is the low pass filter. We also have high pass filter out your top and low end. Beautiful. And then over here, we have something called age, which kind of models the what happens when components age. You get this degradation in the top end, and the components just start to fail, and the behavior gets really odd, and that's really fun to play with as well. And then drift. Drift adds a little bit of variation and inormality to the harmonic response and the behavior of the unit. And so especially if you go in and you're splitting your left and your right, and you kind of want things to behave a little differently, that can do it. Aside from that, we have oversampling, I/O link. I/O link is really cool because when you turn up the level, it just turns down the output and makes it really kind of easy to use. And then 2x stack. This is a way that I like to use these units in real life, is I'll run them in series, just one right into the next. Because sometimes, you turn it up, it's just like, it's subtle, and it's just not enough. It's like, give me 2 of them. Give me 2 of them, baby. So we got that, and undo, redo, A/B, copy A/B, all that stuff. Some presets that I haven't even made yet, but hopefully by the time you're watching this, we'll have some presets. And then your little thing. This is a new thing we got now. You got your license, you check for updates, and you can just download the updates straight from the plugin. Isn't that cool? Thanks, Eddie. You frickin' rule, my brother in Christ. All right, let's hear this thing on snare drum. I'm gonna start dialing. Here we go. We're gonna drive into the input a little bit, okay? Hear that bypass. We're getting a little teeth. We're adding some teeth to the signal. Let's keep going. Let's go too far. It's really cool and clever how this works, because the dry snare without any processing doesn't have a ton of transient. It's very soft. It has a soft just kind of presentation. It's just goosh. Clipping this thing is actually adding some attack. We're getting some of that aggression back in, some of that huh, and we're also just getting a little bit of just the teeth warble to the way that we clip that sound. So we're getting this just and that to me, that's taking it from dull snare in the mix to present and lengthier snare. It just has more personality this way, right? Let's hear it bypassed again. And here it is. It was a little louder. I'll back it down. Let's hear it soloed. Let's just do a little bit of... Now I'm going to show you guys what the age parameter does. We're going to send this thing back in time. Or I guess we'd be sending it forward in time to simulate that the components have aged. And same thing with drift. Let's add a little bit of variation and sort of mess up the way it's responding. Coming to life. And then that's really where you can destroy sounds, is this 2x stack button. And really, when you start to push this thing, you can hear like the sizzle, like 10, 11K. It's a little too much. So that's where I like to bring the low pass down a little bit. You know, this is not really a usable, this isn't a usable snare. I'm not trying to give an example of something that's going to work perfectly in the mix, but I think, you know, as consumers, we can really test the kind of the quality and the behavior of a unit by like really pushing it beyond what it's was maybe even intended to be used for. And sometimes you can find some cool like production-y kind of things like that. So I always encourage people to just try to break stuff. Try to break stuff to invent some sounds, you know. The Marshall amplifier wasn't designed to be used in high gain settings. Like, can you even believe that? It was somebody taking it beyond its intended use and beating it up. Okay, cool. So let's put all this back, style this back in the mix, and then we're going to move on to another source. Yeah, I just like that. I like that kind of that happens when you distort a low tuned ballad snare. You get kind of like Billie Eilish, "Birds of a Feather." The way that thing sounds, it's very dark. It's kind of blowing out. It's great. Here is one more snare. We've got these fills here, this sort of synth lick. So the middle one. So that lick is cool. It's a little bit foggy to me, right? My first intention would be like, I want more clarity out of that. So we can try with EQ. But like, there's nothing up there. You know, what I'm getting is more of the ticky-tacky, like 3, 4, 5K. But like, if I try to boost up here, I want the presence, I want the sizzle, right? It isn't working. It isn't working! What do I do? So then we just get in, we freaking distort to add some top. We're gonna start at 0 and just start driving it up, and we're gonna hear the information we're adding. We're adding presence that just literally wasn't there before. And if you want to go crazy, hit the 2x stack button. And then we can blend in just a little bit of top with the mix now. That's a little more. There's a wispiness, there's like, when you really start to push certain pieces of analog gear to where the components are freaking out. There's this like you could just hear them just overloading, like the components can't possibly comprehend what you're doing to them, and it just freaks out. And this has been captured in this emulation, and it's one of the first times I've heard it in a plugin, and it's just like, maybe not super useful, but like it's a sound that I'm used to hearing, and now I'm hearing it here, and it's like, how did Eddie do this? I want to know. The third use case I'm going to show you is how we can add warmth to thin sources using the 280 pre. Here we have this guitar. And although it was played by a total badass and it's incredibly tasty, oh my gosh, just kidding. Although it's really tasty, it's a little thinned out, and I want to thicken that thing. I want to add a little bit of juice and mojo. Right, so we could try with some EQ. That's what you'd go to. You're like, well, if I want it thicker, if I want it bigger sounding, let's just boost some lows, or right, like some low mids maybe. And like, that's okay, but it's sort of just getting cloudy. We're sort of just boosting more of what was there and attenuating, just adding cloudiness, which to me is taking away from the clarity. When I think of warmth and I think of a warm guitar tone, historically what we've heard is, you know, the warmth that comes from the distortion and the saturation of an amplifier, you know, feeding a speaker that's literally recreating, right, replicating the sound and adding distortion, and then being recorded into a console that's introducing distortion, and then being tracked onto analog tape, which is introducing distortion. It's these low like undertones, and just it's that stuff that's going to be adding that juice and that vibe that we're looking for. It's not EQ, it's distortion. So what I want to do is crank this baby up. I want to get it really dark and growly, and then blend in the mix. You know, it's too bright for that right off the bat. So we're going to take the low pass filter down. You know what, it might even hit 2x stack. Make up our gain. It's just like ooey gooey. That breakup is cool. So now we're going to take the mix knob all the way down. We got our signal just straight up dry. Now we're going to blend in some of that really delicious low mid warmth. Before, after. Yeah, so that's just a couple use cases for this thing. We're really excited about the 280 pre. It's just a texture machine, man. It's really cool for adding stuff, and it gives you a different flavor of distortion that you know, hasn't been offered as a plugin yet. So yeah, man, 280 pre, awesome. We'll see you guys soon. You know, drop in the comments. Let me know what you think, what you're liking it on, or if you have suggestions or whatever. Love to hear from you guys. Cool. Take care. Peace.